Good afternoon. I hope I find you well. Okay, my name is Teach. I'm here to share a very interesting topic with you that is found in data communication systems. Okay, the topic is virtual LANs, VLANs. So this is the approach I'm going to be using a logical workspace as I go through the concept. It will be, yes, I'll be explaining, and at the same time, doing a logical practical diagram on the logical workspace. So by the way, I'm doing packet tracer. So if guys, you have a packet tracer and want to follow me up, we can go along and take the lead and you follow as we get to understand what VLANs are all about. Okay, without wasting time, we're talking about VLANs, which stands for virtual LAN. So here we are talking about LANs which have been created in configuration. They're not physical, by the way. These are created in configuration at layer number 2 of the OS model, which means they are applied to switches. Yeah? They're talking about switches here, manage the switches. So what are we doing? We are logically segmenting a bigger domain into smaller domains and assign ports, associate ports with those VLANs. Okay, so a VLAN can have a VLAN name, and also ports can be assigned to such a VLAN. All right. So by default, a switch, before we configure any VLAN, it has got a VLAN number 1, which you're going to see very soon. So we are going to verify the presence of VLAN number 1 and other default VLANs, which is VLAN 1002, 1003, 1004, to 1005. We look at them, the default VLANs and the normal range VLANs that we can configure, which is VLAN from VLAN 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to VLAN 1001. Okay, so without wasting time, I'm gonna drop in a switch. I'm going to drop in a switch, a 2960 switch. Okay, because our VLANs are going to be based on that switch, right? They're going to be based on that specific switch. So 2960 switch, there it is. So this is a switch with 24 ports, 2960 Cisco 2960 switch with 24 ports. So what you're gonna do, I'm going to drop in 6 pieces. The first 2 pieces are going to, okay, actually, it's not going to be one. Okay, I'm gonna start off with 1 switch, then add on another switch later on. And we're going to have 3 VLANs on this switch, which is going to be VLAN 10, 20, and 30. And in each VLAN, we're going to assign 2 ports for each VLAN, 2 ports for each VLAN. Okay, so without wasting time, I'm going to click the switch and see the default VLAN information present on that switch. Okay, by the way, this is called the command line interface. This is a command line based configuration whereby it's not the graphical. I know the guys who are used to the GUI. It's not the GUI, but it's the CLI, and we'll be running commands. Okay, so follow me closely. We're going to be doing it, going through it slowly, gradually. Okay, fine. So there we are. I've started off in user mode. So switch greater than sign is called user mode. I say enable to move from user mode to privileged mode. So switch hashtag is the privileged mode. Then to global mode. Okay, I can move up to global mode, which I can configure, type in configure terminal. So this is the global configuration mode where we can configure anything that we want to configure globally. Then we can have specific global configuration mode. I'm not going to go there. So I'll go back to privilege mode where we can run show command. So I'll say exit. And remember, don't run away from the objective. We want to view the default VLAN information on this switch. So I run show VLAN. So there we are. We have got VLAN 1, which is default, and management, by the way, and native. It's all in one. Management, native, default, it's present. And all the ports are associated with VLAN number 1. So what do we do? We cannot delete this VLAN. It's existing, and we will leave it like that. We're not going to say no VLAN 1. Then we go to 1002, 3, 4, and 5. These are default VLANs, okay? So us will be concentrating on VLAN number 1. All right. So as you can see, there's no VLAN 10, no VLAN 20, no VLAN 30. All right. No VLAN 10, no VLAN 20, and no VLAN 30. Okay, fine. So what I'm going to do right now is now to add pieces. To add the pieces to the switch. I'm going to add the pieces to the switch so that we are able to associate those pieces with the VLANs which are going to configure, right? Okay. So I've got the first PC in, second PC in. These are going to be in one VLAN. Third PC is in. Fourth PC is in. These are going to be in another VLAN. Then fifth and sixth also in their own other VLAN. All right. Okay. So what do we have here? So we are going to take the cables. PC0 is going to connect to FA0/1, right? PC1 to FA0/2. Okay. Then PC3 to FA0/3. This is very important. Look at it. What have we done? We have dragged in a PC by default. The piece we have dragged in PCs, yes, and the switch by default. A switch is got default VLAN configuration, which is VLAN number 1, and all ports are associated with the VLAN number 1, which means by default all ports are under it's a one broadcast domain in VLAN number 1 before we introduce other VLANs or before we configure other VLANs. All right, fine. So quickly, we have PC3 on 4, then PC5, PC4 on FA0/5, and then PC5 on FA0/6. Okay. All right. So I take my labels. Let me label up select. I just do it beautifully. So I'm going to take this color to do my labels. Fill in color. Okay. So there we are. We have VLAN 10, which we are going to give a name IT. Then we have still there, which ports have we assigned, have we associated with the VLAN 10? We chose FA 0/2, 2, 3. Okay. Then VLAN 20, which you are going to call marketing. And the ports 4 and 5. The FA 0, 2, 3, then 4, 5. No. FA 0, 1 to 2, then 2 to 3 to 4. Yeah. We've got 3 to 4. So we have FA 0/3 dash to 4. So we need to edit that one. Then 5 and 6. What is the VLAN? It's production. So it's going to be VLAN 30. Name is production. And the ports are FA 0/526. Okay. Okay, it's refusing to edit, but no problem. As we know, it's FA 0/1 to 2. Okay, we ignore this label. All right, then this is it. We come to our switch. Come to the switch. Okay. So what have we noticed or discovered so far from our show VLAN brief command? We've noticed that FA01 all the way 6, they're all in VLAN 1, which is default and management. So what we want to do is to take the ports according to our diagram and assign them. First and foremost, you're going to create the VLANs, configure the VLANs, name them. Then from there, we assign ports to such VLANs, newly configured VLANs. Are we together, team? Okay, so without wasting time, I'm gonna go into global configuration from the user mode, from the privileged mode. Remember, the starting point is the user mode, followed by privileged mode. Right now, I'm in privileged mode. Then I will need to go to global mode. I will need to go to global mode. I will have to upgrade to global, to step up to global mode. Okay. So fine. So what I'm gonna do there, okay, just make it a bigger screen. All right. Okay, so there we are. Configure terminal. Configure I prefer that you write, since you're learning for the first time, I prefer that you write in full, right? Configure terminal. Okay, I enter configure terminal. Configure terminal. Okay, I'm now in global configuration mode. In this mode, then I create the VLANs. So I'll start with the VLAN 10. So I just say VLAN 10. Enter. I've created the VLAN already. So let's see if for sure it has been created. So I'll quickly run show VLAN brief in this mode, in the global configuration mode. Do show VLAN brief to quickly verify the configuration of VLAN 10. Let's check. Yes, I can see it. It's there. VLAN 10, but it doesn't have a name. It has been given a default name, which is VLAN 0010. And it's not associated with the endpoint. So now we name it. Then we say name. We said it's IT. Then we need to associate the interfaces with that VLAN. So we exit. Then we associate the interface. I choose the interface range. Interface range is better than individual interface at any given time. It's slower. If it's an exam environment, it will be slow. So I prefer the interface range. We bundle up interfaces, then we apply them at once into the VLAN. Okay. So interface range FA 0/1-2. So we have taken the interface range, which comes down to what? Configure F range, IF for interface range. Then we say switch port. We need to configure the ports first and foremost as access ports. So which means all the ports which are going to be allocated into VLANs are going to be access. So switch port mode access. So these are now access ports. And then what do we do next? We associate them with VLAN 10. So switch port access VLAN 10. What has happened? The ports now have been assigned into VLAN 10. Let's quickly check if for sure the VLANs have been configured into, the ports have been configured into the VLAN, and also if the VLAN has been named accordingly. So quickly in this mode, I say do show. I think someone has noticed. When I was in privilege mode, I was not running the command. I was not calling the command do. I just said show VLAN brief. But now I'm saying do show VLAN brief. What does that mean? If you are in privilege mode, you just run the show command without any preceding word. But if you are in other mode, the upward mode, the higher modes, like global configuration mode and specific global configuration mode, like this one is called specific global configuration mode. Why? Because the global configuration mode is known by config, switch config hashtag. Then specific global configuration mode is known by config IF, any extension from config. It takes us to the global configuration mode. So the global, in specific, it takes us to specific global configuration mode. So right now I'm in specific global configuration mode, and I'm configuring interfaces, right? I'm configuring what? Interfaces. What have I done? I've bundled up two interfaces, FA01 and 2. And what have I done? I've configured them to be access ports, which means they are supposed to be connected to by end devices. And once I've done that, now I've assigned them into VLAN 10. Are we together? Then now I want to verify if for sure they are in VLAN 10. Okay, so I run do show VLAN brief. Enter. Let's check. So there is presence of VLAN 10. So VLAN ID 10, VLAN name IT, and then active, yes. How many ports? 2, FA01 and FA02. Do you see that, guys? Let's go. 2. So I'll exit here and go back to global config mode. So user mode, privilege mode, global mode, specific global mode. Do you see the order? It's like you're going up the ladder. User mode, you don't configure anything. Privilege mode, only show commands. Global mode, yes, you can configure, but not all of the commands. You only run in global mode. Then specific, you are in a specific mode where what you configure only affects whatever you got into specifically. Like here, I'm in ports, and what I'm configuring are affecting the ports. The configurations are affecting the configuration settings are affecting the ports. Are we together there? Then I want you to lead. I want you to lead. Now we come to what is the next? What is the next? Host name according to our diagram. I mean, next VLAN name is marketing, then followed by production. Okay. So now we are on VLAN 20, whose name is marketing. Let's go. So how do we create VLAN 20? Which command? Let's go. VLAN 20. You're correct. You're correct. Yes. So which means VLAN 20 is now present. And then how do we name it? How do we name it? Can someone say it? Follow it. Name. So we said it is what? What is the name of VLAN 20? Don't want to do the wrong thing. Marketing. So we say name marketing. Enter. Then we need to associate FA0, 3, and 4 to marketing. How do we do it? Then we say exit. We exit there, right there. Then we say interface range. FA0/3 to FA0/4. Then we say, what is the command to associate? Switch port. First and foremost, switch port mode. Switch port. And another one. If you like, I made a mistake, I left out T there, and I want to call back. So which means there is a history of commands. So I simply code back the history by an up arrow, and then I go by the back arrow to where I left out the letter. Then I come back, then I enter. You see, easy. Switch port mode access. Then we need to throw them into the VLAN. Switch port access VLAN 20. Here we are. A quick check. Do show VLAN preview. What do we have? We've got marketing created, VLAN ID, VLAN number 20, and 2 ports, FA03 and 4. We together there. Then we have the last one, which is production VLAN, which is VLAN 30. So exit right there. Then we say VLAN 30. It's gonna be a quick lesson. Name production. Then interface range. FA 0/526. Then what do you want to do with them? Switchport mode access. There's another one which I want to teach you right now. It's an opportunity. So I wrote switch. Then I hit the tab button. You see it auto-finished switch port. So this is auto-finished switch port. Mod, MO, then tab. DE added, switch port mode, then A for access finishes. Then you enter. So this is a quicker way of configuring if you're under exam conditions. Right now, I'm talking about the exams. So this is a certification example. Like if you want to do Cisco, right? CCNA and CCNP, this is a topic that, and also other ones are cyber ops, Cisco security, all of them. These are the commands they apply. If you're configuring VLANs, they apply across the board. So I'm teaching someone to get ready to certify. Yeah. So fine. So switchport mode access, switchport access. Then we throw them switchport, switchport access, VLAN. We say the VLAN 30. Okay. Right. So what you want to do is to quickly verify the configuration of VLAN 30. Do show VLAN brief tab refused for a good reason. So if you run the preceding way to do, no more auto finishing. No more auto finishing. Thank you. So can you check? We have, by default, we had the VLAN 1. But now we have 10 added, 20 added, and the 30 added. So what have we done up to this point? We have verified the default settings in terms of VLAN information. Then we added 3 VLANs, namely IT, marketing, and production, and associated ports with those VLANs. So before we exit, we are recommended to copy, right? To copy this configuration file. So the configuration file is called the running config file, and it is in volatile memory. It is in volatile memory. So what we needed to do is to copy from the volatile memory to a non-volatile memory, to non-volatile memory for permanent storage. So how do I do it? I say do copy running, which is the volatile file, running dash config space start up dash config. Enter. Okay, up arrow, I left out any there. But again, of an N, I wrote a U. Yes, like this. Right. So it confirms to me the destination file name is startup, then which is yes, the non-volatile one. I say enter and then enter, it copies. So which means if I switch off the switch, my configuration settings is going to remain unchanged. My configuration file is not going to be unchanged. Are we together, class? Not a class. Are we together, friends? Okay. So now, after doing this, I go back to the PCs to configure them with IP addresses, okay? All right. All right. So I see something there. Let's give them time. All right, let's see if we can pick it up. I want to open the PC, go to the desktop to configure them with IP addresses. Okay. So I'll need to add memory to my PC. So I think it's running out of memory. But let's see if it can allow me to. But if it doesn't allow me to, we can end there. So what does it mean? Let me just summarize what I've done. Okay, let me just add a point before I summarize. So if we had IP address the pieces in the same VLAN were going to communicate to one another in the same VLAN. So like, for example, VLAN 10 pieces would communicate to each other. Then pieces in VLAN 20 would see each other or communicate to each other or to one another. So applies to VLAN 30. What about inter-VLAN communication? It was not going to be possible. VLAN 10 traffic does not communicate with the VLAN 20 traffic at layer number 2 when using a switch. Point to note. When using a what? A switch. Layer 10, VLAN 10 and the VLAN 20, same applies to VLAN 30. They cannot communicate. They are isolated. So what have we done to the switch ports? We have segmented the switch ports. Remember, we just chose 6, but those 6 have been separated. Those 6 ports on the switch have been separated to create broadcast domains. To create what? Broadcast domains. So there we are. Those pieces will never see each other by default. The pieces will never see each other by default. Unless if we allow inter-VLAN routing using a layer 3 device. So routing happens at layer number 3, where now we call in the services of a router or a multi-layer switch, or a what? Multi-layer switch, which means we will set another date for inter-VLAN routing. We set another date for inter-VLAN routing. For today, we've looked at VLANs. So I will end it there. Thank you. I'm going to end it there.